welcome to Detroit Comics Party, episode 46. Today our guest is writer, librarian, and fellow talk show host, Jeff Milo.
Man, I'm busy.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm not actually a librarian, but I do a lot of things in libraries.
Oh, a library type person.
Yeah, but I am a writer. That's true.
I thought you were a librarian too. Damn it.
Well, I mean, we're on television. I don't want to lie right at the start of the episode.
So out there saying he's a
Journalists
librarian.
don't like to lie. I mean,
He's not even certified.
yeah, no. Certified journalist. Certified talk show host. Sort of. I mean, I didn't get a framed piece of paper about that, but.
What is your relation to the library then?
Well, I've worked in them all my life, and I've kind of, I guess I'm kind of a go-to gopher, multifaceted, multi-hat wearing kind of guy who never left, and they liked enough to keep around to
That's
continue
cool.
doing positive things that help, spread the word of what libraries do.
Cool. Like, so you kind of instituted that whole live music series at the Ferndale Library? Wasn't that your thing?
I also didn't do that either.
You
But-
didn't do that either.
No, okay, so
What did you do anyway?
I help.
Okay.
Library helper doesn't have the ring to it, though.
No, it doesn't. But you see, I'm so busy with all of these other pursuits, trying to be a journalist covering the local music scene, trying to be a talk show host.
Aren't you the only person who's succeeded
Trying
in
to be a
being a
good-
journalist
Yeah.
covering the local music scene? Like, I don't think of anyone else when I think that.
I know. I just never stopped, I guess. I do help. We should say I work at the Ferndale Public Library, and coming up this summer, we're going to have 3 big concerts in the library. We're going to have a traditional Japanese drum ensemble who's from here in Troy.
Cool.
Dan John Miller from Blanche is going to be there, and the Theater Bazaar Orchestra is going to be there. So I will use my connections in the local music scene, or the good graces that I've earned in saying, "Hey, you want to come play in my library?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're cool, Jeff." And then
They're like, yeah, you own the library.
yes. So I think I helped the library be cool, because I don't think people have thought libraries cool in the same
Not for a long time.
box.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I want to do and continue to do, among all the other things.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so when did you start writing music journalism type of articles, and when did you get into that?
When I was in high school?
Yeah.
So
High school paper?
High school newspaper. I was on the newspaper staff, but this is going to sound awful. Like I'm not. It's also going to sound cool. I didn't want to actually report on, like, interview the new principal who just got hired, or, what's the Glee Club doing? I was like, Weezer just put out a new album. How do I get the teacher to let me write an article about that? And so I got her to invent an entertainment page inside of the newspaper where I could just write about music.
Nice.
As a 16-year-old. So it just went from there. Then I was like, I want to be a journalist. So I went to school, Michigan State, to get that degree. But then I also was like, but I still want to write about music. So got an internship at a place called Real Detroit Weekly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
When
They're
did that
coming up.
happen?
That was in 2004. And I haven't looked back since. But Real Detroit isn't a thing anymore, I don't think.
Oh, it became the other thing.
I think
the
it-
two things became one thing.
It was,
An absorption.
An absorption, I guess.
Kind of gross.
Were you absorbed into the other one?
I was at the other one, which is the Metro Times,
Yeah.
for a while.
I didn't know if it was a sore subject.
Also, no.
I think you're the only person who would say it's not a sore subject of when everything became one.
Yeah. Oh.
Didn't the one absorb the other and then was like, yeah, you guys can totally keep your jobs, and then put everybody in the trash can?
That's terrible. but I'd already moved on from that before all that mess happened.
We're gonna have to release this episode after our Metro Times article
Right.
comes
Yeah.
out.
Well, I think as a journalist, wouldn't you agree that when it comes time to either print the truth or print the legend, you must always print the legend?
Truly, yes. Besides, it's already the article's already gonna come out, right? So, yeah, don't worry about it.
I don't have any animosity, and I don't feel like I'm trash talking. I do like to hear the hearsay of any, anything that's going on in my town.
Do you mean gossip, Mike?
Yeah.
Do you want?
But
do you want drama?
That's our spin-off show, Gossip Mike.
I don't feel like I want I don't want little whispery trash talking, but from talking to a bunch of people who've done work for Metro Times and Real Detroit, I got the sense that it was very tense when the transition was happening. Just like I'm sure we've all got a million stories about different bands and different venues and
Truly.
Everyone's little secret. I guess that is gossip. Is that gossip? I'll have a gossip column. You can have a music column.
I don't know if it's gossip, but it's definitely dirty laundry.
Yeah.
That we're gonna be putting out here on the line.
Yeah.
And if we talk about that too long, then all the dirty laundry will start blocking out this great sign here, and we'll just be smelling like mold and mildew after that.
I suppose it's
smelling more like that.
So now I freelance for the Detroit Free Press and a bunch of other
Very
magazines. Still doing it. And I have a blog, which is fun. I started my blog 9 years ago, and it hasn't been updated or changed ever since. Just the content.
I like that about it.
Yeah, so it's definitely still like George W. Bush's America when you look at my blog, technology-wise.
Because of all the pictures of him on the sides?
Right. But
What's your blog called?
it's called Deep Cuts.
Okay.
Which was a nickname for myself years ago that doesn't make sense anymore. But it's like one of those inside jokes that you don't. I was a really bad DJ.
Okay.
I didn't like to play the hits. I liked playing the random B-sides when I was at a party that would just slow everything down.
And DJ No Hits was taken.
Right, no hits was taken, so they just called me the Deep Cuts guy. Who, if I would go to side B, track 9. The one where you can't find the downbeat, it's just
Everyone's just kind of
So,
shuffling, going to get a drink for a minute.
But,
till the next song.
yeah, but it was endearing because everyone said well, you look for those underappreciated things and you appreciate that.
Do you feel like you do the same thing when you're looking for bands to write about, or how do you choose who you're going to write about, or do you just try to write about everyone?
In the middle.
Okay.
In the middle. I think I'd go crazy if I tried to write about everyone.
There's a lot.
But I want to write about everyone. But Toucan Sam follows his nose to the Fruit Loops, but I just follow my ear. I just wait for something really exciting and vitalizing and maybe even scary or delightful. That I get really emotional when I listen to music still, even after all this time. I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, I just put music on and it's just something in the background and I'm not digging in anymore, but I still let that stuff give me goosebumps and I love that.
Is that why you've been able to sustain, to keep writing about music for so long? Because it still affects you that way?
Yes. Yeah, I'm getting emotional right now. I can feel goosebumps. I can't pinpoint why it's fulfilling. I think there's something about being a work of art, whatever it is, even if it's a painting or a weird sculpture or a ballet or a band's performance and their energy on the stage, strikes you or moves you or just stops you in your tracks, and not having in that moment the ability to describe it. It's interesting to sit down and really rack my brain and figure out what I'm responding to and describe what this sounds like. Writing about music was not easy at first. Have you ever tried it?
Yeah.
There's a famous quote out
Little
there.
bit.
It's attributed to like 3 different people. It's kind of like a bad Abraham Lincoln Wikipedia thing. That writing about music is like dancing about architecture.
Yeah.
And like depending on what internet source I think maybe Elvis Costello said it, but that's wrong. But it might be right. But it was, I think, interesting to figure out that puzzle. How do you write about music? How do you describe something that people don't need to have described to them because it should be just visceral or guttural?
I think you're providing a valuable service by writing about it, though, because there's maybe there's people who they don't know how to listen for the same things quite, or they might not pull the same feelings out of it right away, but maybe through reading about it, they might become more interested, even if it's something where there's complexities in it that they might not pick up on right away.
Truly.
And I think your enjoyment of it comes through in the writing, and like it makes other people want to get involved and listen to it and
I'm glad to hear that.
participate.
Glad to hear that. Oh, man. It's fun. I don't know. I I remember someone asking me, this was about 5 or 6 years ago, whether or not I took drugs right before I read a music review or as I'm writing.
You're like, I never stop.
Because that, not like speed or anything, like I need to keep going, but like hallucinogens, because that was what they deduced from what I'd written.
Huh. I wouldn't
was
take
like-
that as a compliment, personally.
I kind of do, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't. But I think that's how immersed or lost I let myself become into a piece, to the point where I might not sound like I'm even speaking English anymore. Yeah, trying to fuse with the band. I should probably stop talking.
It's good.
I don't know, reminding people that it should be or could be a way intense experience
Right.
seems like a good platform to have, a good purpose.
Yeah, active listening, crazy listening, especially if we can get on our soapbox
Yes,
in this day and
please.
age of streaming, where we run that risk of a band putting out an album and it being forgotten in 3 days. But I guess we were sadly inevitably going toward, ever since Napster, I guess, when music became free. That's a bag of worms to open up and spill,
Yeah.
historically speaking. But I'm not trying to nostalgically get back to like the 70s when we would just listen to records and front to back and flip it over and like get high and talk about it. But I I don't want a piece of music to be forgotten so swiftly.
I think so. What I feel about it is that you're like, when you have a piece of music now, it almost isn't enough to just have that piece of music and have it exist. Like, it needs to expand and it needs to become a lot of other things.
Right.
Like, it also, like, so your writing about it becomes a part of that entity that's like around the song, and then having like the music video is like a really important part of a lot of videos or of songs,
Truly.
because then it's a different way for people to interact with it, and it's another way in which maybe it will catch on something and it
Right.
won't just slip down the drain, that it's become this bigger thing.
You need the
for people
marketing juggernaut behind
Yes.
the song, so your
Yes.
Twitter and your Instagram is real tight, and you got like the excellent album art, but you got the premium double LP, or you could buy the MP3s, and
Right?
but then it's just the marketing juggernaut. What I want to see is some 15-year-old with a CDR coming out of his bedroom with like no plan, and it's like in just the paper sleeve, like, "This is my soul. I just want you to hear it a little."
Right, and that guy's brilliant.
Yeah.
Or girl, wherever she is. That 15-year-old is brilliant, but they won't have A&R help
Right.
getting them on radios. So the least I can do, guys, is write my ass off about the song that they wrote, because they put work into it, you know?
I like to think that. And about the Napster music being free thing, you look at a photo of like 70s teens in the bedroom, they have this many records.
Right.
And they're all like major label releases that were stadium-sized bands. Now when I'm online looking for new tracks and music, I'm like jacked in. Like,
Right.
we're gonna parse 1,000 new artists. We're gonna go through hundreds and hundreds of songs in a sitting. And
It's a
we're
universe.
really gonna grind through all this new media to try and find the one that's not just pretty good or I can actively
Right.
listen to, but the one that's like, this is my soul.
And there's no intimacy there. You don't intimately connect to that artist, whoever you find next.
The one that I
think.
find that's my favorite thing?
Well, you might find, but how long is it going to be your favorite thing? Are you going to hold on to it as long as the 10 records in the kid in the 70s bedroom and listen to
I'm
it?
not sure. It is a different time, and the times are changing. I feel.
Right.
I feel like maybe we're moving toward appreciating music differently,
Yeah, I hope so.
but I don't feel like. I feel like there is bands that are in the post-Napster era that I love with my soul and have hung on to for a long time.
Right.
But then also one of my favorite things with music is to find the newest thing.
Right.
Where they haven't been around a long enough time for me to love them for years.
Right. That was
don't know.
Man, remember in the mid-O's when it was like cool to be like the blog buzz band?
Yeah.
You know, clap your hands, say yeah or whatever. Band that you didn't really know anything about, but Pitchfork was like, this is the band you should like. And you're like, oh, okay.
Oh.
I like them because I want to get in that club. But you could find that something that's your new favorite thing, but like there's 200,000 other bands you could be listening to right now.
Yeah.
And you're conscious of that because you can see it on your internet screen. And with a swipe, you could start listening to something else right now. That's crazy. That's like binging Netflix music. If you're, you know, so the way we're consuming is going to be different. So just going back to the intimacy, I think that's intimacy is such an intimate word. Writing a deep essay about a piece of music, I think, is hopefully to help any new listener also achieve an intimacy with whatever I wrote about next. I think, yeah.
I think what I was getting at was like that having these other things attached to it, like the writing or
Yeah.
whatever it happens to be. I don't think most people are consuming music the way that you do.
I'm
Whereas-
pretty sure of
okay,
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
you.
like they're not sitting down to listen to 1,000 new artists to find something, you know.
Yeah,
so
I'm-
they're more likely to
They need
Catch.
something, yeah.
catch it if there's something else attached to it. I
Right.
think.
Right. Because it might be thrown at them on the page of a magazine. And not Real Detroit, but like, you know, Entertainment Weekly will tell this person that this is the band they should like. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
You tell them who they should like.
I am going to tell you who to like. But I think that's been on my business card for 13 years.
I'll tell you who to
Really?
like.
Yeah. Oh no! On my business card is upbeat and eccentric. Someone, a guest who was just on my talk show, left that as a compliment for me. I was like, oh, I don't really think about myself as that way, but it's a good angle.
Like, hello, Vistaprint?
So this is a big week for you guys, though. Got a big show coming up.
This week? The next week? Next weekend? This week. Time
coming up
shifting.
this week.
Right, I'm following. It's
coming up
picking
soon.
Up.
Yeah. This week.
Because I've kept busy, right? I haven't just written about music. I write about culture, Michigan, Detroit culture, and that's you guys. You fall into that catch-all bag.
Oh, shucks.
We're doing
I have
our
those
best.
boxes on my desk. Music and all the other stuff. And then you guys are there with Detroit Comics Party, and you have a festival. Is it like a con?
Something like that. When you described having the intimate connection with music,
Yeah.
you were very close to describing how I feel about the comics and independent publishing works that are my favorite. And I feel like Detroit Comics Party, the event, is us bringing all the stuff that gives us that feeling and all the artists that are capable of inspiring that to Detroit.
Right.
Because there's many that are not from Detroit, and they've got to travel to here to bring it to the people. That I feel like our Detroiters are deprived of a certain type of intensity.
Are there common shared qualities or characteristics about all of those kinds of independent artists that has always drawn you, or something you've always appreciated about what they do?
The people that we're trying to bring in are the people who are telling the real truth of existence, whether it's through, no matter what form, no matter how their work presents, the content is the true self. Like Nate McDonough's coming in from Pittsburgh, and his comic that I thought I was jumping out of my chair, it's so good, is about a pet dog that becomes a human, but he's a kind of like got a dog head man, and he like wants to eat the baby.
There's this whole scene where he's speaking to the mother who was his owner or whatever before, and he's talking about his inner turmoil over always when seeing or smelling the baby wanting to eat it because he's hungry, but also wanting so badly to be a good boy.
So it's like a vampire trying to give up blood?
But then the book is also like a metaphor for single motherhood. Like, so it works on so many levels, and it tells so much about humanity, even though page to page, it's this simple story. Dog becomes a man, wants to eat the baby. The mom doesn't let it happen. Spoiler alert. But on the page, it's a simple tale, but like there's so much suggestion in every frame, and it lets the reader's imagination go wild with like all the little subtext, I guess. Is that subtext? I don't know.
Battling with our primal instincts.
Yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that we're interested in. And I think, like, just like you're, like one of your, I feel like, if I'm wrong, tell me, but like one of your ways of enjoying music is like focusing on it and describing it and talking about it. And I think that's one of the things that we've always liked about comics too, is like that, when we've picked up, over the last couple of years, we've picked up other people's titles and started distributing them and selling them and talking to people about them. And the part that's the most fun is talking to people about them and describing the work, and maybe in a way that, maybe the artist, the musician, they can make the music, but they can't describe the work always in a way that would be interesting to people. And not to put down any artists or anything, but I feel like, if you can present their work in this other way that maybe they wouldn't think to do, it's a benefit to everybody. And I think it draws more people in to get them interested and want to engage with it.
Yeah.
I always find it most interesting asking an artist in not these words. I don't think I've ever asked them this, but like, why do you want to do what you do? Or why do you want to do?
I like asking them in those
what
words.
you do in the way that you do it, and and in not these words. And why is it fun for you? Because I think it secretly always is, or it's in some way it's fulfilling to them. That always gets that's so much telling of their story. Because they're more than their art, that they have a story, that what factors shape their mind to create a dog that wants to eat babies. But I liked how you put that, the truth.
Yeah.
It's kind of rawness though, isn't it? It's fearlessness in its structure and presentation, right? I mean, I have to listen to different kinds of music all the time. country, techno, from wherever. Sometimes I'll listen to a noise band. And there's no structure, there's no melody, it's a lot of drones, but after listening to it for a while, I start to feel the emotion that's coming through.
Yeah.
And I start to appreciate its rawness. I get what you're saying with that.
Nobody listens to noise records, and it's impossible to sell a noise record, so
Right.
I really don't want to draw the line between noise music and indie comics.
But isn't it?
Because it's super easy to do, but I see, yes.
It's intense
But
and-
I love noise music,
shocking.
and I love the comparison.
Sure.
It's just bad
Bad business?
Bad business.
I don't know. I mean, we just not recently. We had basically a noise fest here in Detroit, and it was well attended.
I saw that.
But yes, no, independent comics are not off-putting at all. No, not jarring, not dissonant. No.
But I think the
enjoyable,
there
sellable.
needs to be a certain level of fearlessness
Totally.
in the artist
Yeah.
creating the work.
I guess the parallel is. I haven't talked to enough noise musicians, but I get that vibe that at some point they're like, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna do this. So.
Yeah.
This is how I feel. This is how I see it.
I think there's some that are that. And then there's differing levels of like academicness in that. Some people are like, I got brain damage and a distortion pedal and we're gonna do it, you know? And then that's one side. And then there's like, we come from Berklee College of Music with electronic music degree.
Right.
And like, this is my presentation
Right.
in the theater. Like,
I saw a good range of that at that Pittsburgh show
yeah.
by accident.
That's why I think this show is going to be cool. You're going to see so many different sensibilities.
And I want that. I'm not going to refer to noise music anymore, but I want to clash the punk rock maniacs with the academics together to show that the 2 points are really not that far apart.
Yeah.
And let all the different varieties like fly. But like we were talking about fearlessness, like the artist has to have a level of fearlessness to create the work in the first place. But the audience is really, we're relying on the audience to be fearless, to accept this work into their
Sure.
hearts.
So Jeff, we're out of time for today, but
Great.
I would like you to accept this into your heart. This is an official chain that I've tangled up for Detroit Comics Party 2017.
It will be your ticket.
And this will act as your pass into all phases of the event. So
All
I'd like to
right.
formally invite you to the show, and thank you for being on the show today. We really
Happy to be here,
appreciate it.
guys.
Thanks for letting us rant.
Thanks for letting me rant.
Thanks, and we'll see you guys all next time.